Kevin Stefanski overrated or underrated? Are we carrying water for Kevin Stefanski? Is he overrated, underrated? Now, I've called you the Culligan man many, many times over for Kevin. Now, all jokes aside, I mean, this show has been pretty pro-Kevin in the past. Pro Football Focus, PFF, they had their top 10 rankings of the coaches. And a lot of people were surprised that they saw a coach of a 3-14 team here at number 10 overall in Kevin Stefanski. Because I'm going, man, Browns fans and Steelers fans, personally, they don't have a lot in common. Geographically, they have a lot in common. We're very close. But they got this
of returning coaches.
Yeah.
Yes, returning coaches.
Because Mike Vrabel is not on that list.
Well,
and had they just included everyone that is coaching currently,
well, if you want me to go down
Kevin would not be in the top 10.
You want me to go ahead and go down and make that mistake again like I did with Freddie Kitchens and Mike Vrabel that day?
It won you the bad take tournament.
I was an emotional boy that day. So he comes in at number 10 overall. And a lot of people, how can a guy at 3 wins, 3-14 be? See, this is why, so many people, and I had this argument yesterday with Danny, I got to judge him on something. I want to feel whether it's right or wrong, because I think Steelers fans and Browns fans have this in common. They are both critical of their head coach to the point of wanting that guy to go. I think the approval rating with Kevin Stefanski, as we're getting ready to go into the year, is probably hovering somewhere around 40%. I think it's higher than Andrew Berry's right now going into the year. But I think that a Browns fan looks at that list and sees and goes, man, you got to be like, what more has to happen? It's like, okay, this year is the ultimate year for Kevin. It's not even about playoffs to me. It's certainly not about Super Bowls to me or anything like that. I'm going, man, I have had this knockdown, drag-out argument every year for the last 6 years, and something's going to have to give. Something's going to have to happen. Clearly, he either can help a quarterback and can get that guy right if that guy's able to work with him, or he's definitely overrated and we've been wasting our time. One of the two. Like, I think if they get to like 7-8 wins somewhere, and you have a young guy play well, or anybody play well in this group for that matter, it's like, all right, guys, there's definitely something here that the guy does well. We can't keep ripping on Kevin Stefanski all the time. But if they go out and they're a 3-win football team again, and he looks like he's powerless over all this stuff, which I don't know how the defending coach of the year has his power seemingly taken away from him. That's a totally different conversation. I mean, I'm going to lose my mind. I need some clarity to be able to identify what's good and what's not with the Cleveland Browns.
I think they're closer to a 3-win team than an 8-win team.
Which is what scares me too, yes. So at the end of this, if I make it see what makes me fearful, because I don't know. I know what I've said about him in the past. I've blamed Deshaun Watson for Deshaun Watson's problems. And the stories that came out with Bill O'Brien basically having to run this offense that nobody else would run in the NFL because he doesn't know how to read defenses or couldn't watch film or one of the other ones. I've put it on Deshaun Watson. I didn't know why they took away his play calling capabilities. I don't know why, for all these reasons, that they had to make these change. I think that that's part of the reason why Bill Callahan just left, and he had a great excuse for it to go coach with his son, because I think he saw the writing on the wall and he didn't agree with it.
Yes.
And now you have, I think Mike Bloomgren's going to be a really good coach for this football team on their offensive line. I think that we'll see what Tommy Rees can do, but I'm more confident that the offense is really in the hands of Kevin Stefanski here. It's like, hey, man, I'm not even asking for the world, but it does seem to feel like it's put up or shut up time. How many different quarterbacks do we have to go through? And if one of these guys look good, like really good at some point, it's like, okay, now he gets his credit, and we know that there's been a lot of things that have been dumped into his lap over 6 years.
And we said when I was in Monday, we agreed that they're looking to find their quarterback next year.
Yes.
So what if these guys don't look good? Are you going to hold it against them?
Someone's going to have to hold it against them somehow. Did he or did he not like Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah, he did.
He loved Dylan Gabriel, didn't he?
Well,
so you're going to have to hold it against him if Dylan Gabriel goes out there and looks listless.
I mean, if you really love Dylan Gabriel, why don't you take him with the 3rd overall pick?
Well, because that's probably insane to take him with the 3rd overall. It was the 2nd overall pick, wasn't it?
If you love him. I'm sorry, yeah. But if you love him, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's levels to this. Yeah, you may like him for what you have to. You can only shop at the groceries that are available.
Do you think that he was overdrafted in the 3rd round?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's still really, maybe not loved, but he really liked Dylan Gabriel. But you're taking a guy in the 3rd round, you're eventually going to play him this year from what it seems. And there's a lot of folks outside of the building who are really uncomfortable with that. Now, there's definitely players in that locker room like, this kid knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He knows this offense and he knows this nomenclature. And if he were 6'5", there'd be no question about it, but he's not. If he goes out there and he looks bad, we're going to get inundated, and I have no fight against him going, hey, this guy thinks he knows quarterbacks. He goes out there and he takes a 5'10" quarterback, and the guy can't see over the line, and he's throwing pick after pick after pick. If you can't help out Shedeur Sanders, he's an incredibly popular quarterback. It's going to be hard to make an argument for him. It's been 6 years. And I think that he's made quarterbacks that I think have been on the margins play better. Yeah, go back to 2020 with Baker. Do it. Say it. Feel it. But with the mess that's become the Deshaun Watson saga, somebody has to answer to that at some point with this fan base.
Then they should have fired him after last year. They should have fired everybody after last year.
But I didn't want him to.
I didn't either.
But I say going into this year, there has to be something. But I can't just keep repeating it.
But you know that this year is the collateral damage of the awful mistake that was Deshaun. This year is you gotta pay the bill for that. That's what this season is. So why would you fire him now? If you were going to fire him after last season, because last season was an absolute disaster for everybody in the building.
But I still think you could look at this season if they win like 6 or 7 games. And I know you're saying it's closer to 3 wins, and I think a lot of people would agree with you. You win 6 or 7 games this year, and I don't think that if you win 6 or 7 games, any of these quarterbacks are probably going to like the quarterback of your future. But if Dillon Gabriel shows you something, I could very well sit here and say, yeah, Dillon Gabriel showed me something, and I'm still drafting a quarterback in the first round next year, and I'm still putting Kevin Stefanski with that quarterback, because if he can get this, this, and this from any one of these 4 guys, then I think he's proven to everybody that he can work with decent quarterbacks if the quarterback's able to help himself.
I mean, he got P.J. Walker to look functional as an NFL quarterback.
But we don't want to remember that, because the biggest investment that they made, $235 million and 3 first-round picks, has been listless.
And he has to wear some of that. They all do. All of them over there have to wear that. And that's why I said, if you want to hold them accountable for Deshaun, then why are they still here? You should have fired them last year. But now that you kept them, you can't, what's the sense in firing them now? You know they're going to be bad. Why would you fire them now?
But part of the reason, and I think about timing with everything on this, is it because he's still here? Because he'll probably be gone by next June.
Deshaun?
Yes.
No, I don't think it didn't work. Like the owner came out and said it didn't work.
But you can't get rid of him yet. So he's more than likely gone by next June.
Yeah.
So if he's more than likely gone by next June, I mean, off the salary looks like it'll never come off the books.
We'll see. I hear what you're saying.
You're not going to be gone by next June?
With the cap? I think that's a possibility, but I can't sit here and say definitively.
Okay, fair enough. But more than likely, if he were gone by next June, you could sit there and go, well, new general manager, new head coach. We got a new quarterback coming in. He'll be post June 1st. Goodbye. And then we can go on. Or I could look at it and go, well, he might be gone anyway post June 1st, the quarterback. I could see that he did a good job with Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was on the scrap heap. You got Nick Sirianni, who's one of the greatest peacockers of all time. But you got something out of Kenny Pickett there. Congratulations, you did well. You got one more little ride out of Joe Flacco. You got shook out what was ever left in the tank, and you were able to get it there. And then one of these 2 rookie quarterbacks ended up being composed and conducted the offense well and got guys to trust him throughout the year. And they might not, none of those guys may be the future for this football team, but I could look at it in the end and go, I trust Kevin. I want Kevin to lead it going forward with this next quarterback we may use both our picks on to go get. That, I think, is one of these goals that I think that people have to set for this football team this year.
I wholeheartedly
finding
agree,
some clarity.
But it usually comes down to just wins. That's what people are. That's how they're going to judge him by his wins. And I don't think this is a season.
And I'm saying 6 or 7 wins. It's not like I'm asking for the world here, brother.
And I still think that's a high bar.
I think as a Browns fan, you might be. Listen, they made a move you don't want them to make. You didn't want them to make. In hindsight, certainly you didn't want them to make. But you can't say that they ain't trying to win. And you can't say that they are conspiring with all these other teams to fix prices or anything like that. They were going for the gusto when they did it. We'll talk to Mary Kay Cabot coming up at 8:22 this morning about that. Yesterday, we had Mike Florio. Speaking of that investigation, Mike Florio was on the show. He was with Pablo Torre. And this is, Mike likes to have fun. If it were Pony, I'd cuss him out. Pony's a coworker. He's another radio guy. Florio likes to have fun, but I think if I started cussing out Florio, who the hell knows what would happen?
A lawsuit on your hands.
I'm not going to cuss out Florio. You get what I'm saying. He's a litigious man. But But I've disagreed with Florio on the air before. I mean, the day after Miles had the incident with Mason Rudolph, that was a pretty tight interview right there, contentious, if you will, with Mike and I. But Mike came on, and he brought up this little bit of information when I asked him about Kenny Pickett, because he has thrown out there the idea that Kenny Pickett, who they just traded for, could be on his way out before the end of training camp.
You got 4 guys. How are you going to properly get 4 guys ready for the season? And you got 2 of them that are rookies. They need their reps. So between Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, one of them needs to go before training camp opens. Now, that's how a normally functioning football team would operate. With the Browns, you can never account for that because it's like they try to come up with new ways to be dysfunctional. And the dysfunctional thing to do is take all 4 guys to camp. I saw Mary Kay Cabot's report from a week or so ago that the Browns may keep all 4 into the regular season and beyond the trade deadline. And that to me was, somebody's trying to get the folks out there who might be thinking about trying to trade for Pickett to realize you're not going to get him for peanuts. We're not going to cut him if we can't trade him. We'll take him to camp. We'll take him into the regular season. We'll take him past the trade deadline, unless they're going to do the dysfunctional thing and take 4 guys to camp. And then how are you going to get 4 guys ready for week 1? And before you can't burn 4 roster spots on a 53-man roster. On quarterbacks, you need those spots for other players.
One, oh, yes, you can.
Yeah,
and
why?
yes, they may. The second thing is, I can't say he's totally crazy. And the reason is that Andrew Berry is always going to try to get something out of something. It's his job. He's a general manager. I think everybody should try to get something out of something. You're going to say something over here. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jason.
No, I've got a couple different trains of thoughts. Number one, why can't you carry 4 on the 53? This team isn't going anywhere.
Totally agree.
So what's one extra roster spot?
Don't know.
It's one extra linebacker you're not carrying, or one. I don't know. I think you can nip and tuck the roster somewhere. I don't know where
the only thing is they might find, they have been a team that's been devoid of draft picks for a while. Yeah. And if they do find some kid in the who they figure is a diamond in the rough somewhere at another position, and they're going, man, this kid, I don't know if we can stash him. Like one of those things,
right?
Maybe. But again, as I say it, I know that that's probably a long shot with you. Yeah.
Here's the thing that I don't understand, because I've said before, I think Kenny's the week 1 starter. For all the people who assume it's Joe, why did they wait till April 11th, a month into free agency, to sign him if he was their starting quarterback? Why wouldn't you have signed him on day 1? Why was the first move they made to acquire Kenny Pickett? Why did they wait a month into free agency to sign Flacco if Flacco is who they want to be the starting quarterback on this team?
I just trust Joe more. That's all. Listen,
I don't disagree with that, but I'm talking from the Browns' perspective.
Yeah, but when it comes to our arguments, you can't conflate it. Now, I know you're not doing it with me, but I got to ask you: have you heard so many people say they want Joe Flacco? You think that they are going that these people are saying they are going to start Joe Flacco? Because I want Joe Flacco to start the season.
Yeah,
I don't really think I'm going to get my way.
Who do you think it's going to be?
I think it's probably going to be. I listen to the people who are actually close to it, and God bless the guys who are national, because we're about to play one, but there's a lot of national guys who say Joe Flacco, and I'm like, okay, that's great. But when you say Kenny Pickett and some of the other ones that are closer saying Kenny Pickett, I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to have to buckle up and get ready for the Kenny Pickett experience.
And maybe because the way I said this before, when I saw him at OTAs, I was really impressed at how Joe could still throw it, because it's been a couple years since we've seen him, right? And he came out at OTAs, and I said, wow, Joe he still spin it. Like, I thought he threw it the best of everybody that we saw. But I still have always felt like I just think Kenny Pickett's the day 1 starter. Now, if training camp comes around and Joe wows everyone and blows everybody away, of course he can overtake them. But I look at the timing of this, and I look at how quickly the Browns moved to acquire Pickett, and I look how long it took them to bring in Flacco and combine it with a couple other things, and I think Kenny is the early leader on this. And a lot of people think I'm nuts.
So Pickett is clearly the guy who's the leader to be starting week 1.
I wouldn't say clearly. Okay. It's just who I think.
So is he clearly because the question is he closer to being the week 1 starter or being traded? And I think you're saying he's way closer to being the week 1 starter.
I think he is, yeah. Or you could be Charlie Fry and you could start week 1 and get traded in week 2.
Greg Rosenthal on NFL Network had this to say about the entire situation.
Ultimately, I think Deontay Johnson is right that the Browns want Kenny Pickett to win the job, but I think Joe Flacco will win the job. And my main reason is just watching how Kenny Pickett has handled his last 2 opportunities. The film does not lie. And you look at 2 organizations in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia who both need quarterbacks who essentially gave up on Kenny Pickett. So we know what Joe Flacco can do. He can play at a credible level. He went 4-1 with the Browns before. So if we're going to spend this whole offseason saying Howie Roseman is the best general manager in the game, and they could certainly use a good backup at a low price, and he basically decided to give Kenny Pickett away because Tanner McKee is a better quarterback than him, then ultimately I think Joe Flacco is going to be a better quarterback than him, and Shedeur Sanders will wind up being a backup or a third-string quarterback.
And there's people out there in that audio courtesy of NFL Network. There's people out there, Jason, who said, like, oh, Kenny, you hate Kenny Pickett. I'm like, I don't hate Kenny Pickett at all, but I shudder at the thought of Kenny Pickett starting because I know that these guys, these veterans in this locker room, they may come to respect Kenny Pickett. I don't think that they disrespect Kenny Pickett, but I know they respect Joe.
Yes.
And I know they believe that Joe, yeah, I know he has his peccadillos for throwing his interceptions and things like that, but I know they respect Joe and they think that he can conduct the offense. And I think if you start the season, which it's going to be a tough start to the season, it's a tough schedule, it's the NFL. But if you start the season with somebody else, I think you put all these guys in a position where they just start to question you. Like, which lily pad now are we going to go if you don't take the guy that we all trust gives us the best chance to win?
I don't see, and I hear you. And the locker room conversation is really interesting to me because, so who are you referring to? Like, name names. Who are the players?
I'm not going to name names.
Why? Because
I'm not going to name names. These are,
all right, I'll name them. The leaders of the team. You're talking about Miles. You're talking about Joel Bitonio.
I'm going to sit here stone-faced and do that because
are you talking about Quinshon Judkins? Are you talking about the rookies? Or are you talking about the veterans?
Nixon tapes. You're not going to get that out of me.
You do it to me all the time.
This isn't Watergate.
Why can't I turn around and do it to you?
I'm not a reporter. I'm not a big J journalist. You are.
All right, couple things.
Put a thumb up or thumb down.
We're still on tape, and Joey does everything he can to make me look bad.
It'll be fine.
Let's talk about the veterans. So let's talk about Miles and Joel, okay? Joel knew what he was signing up for when he came back here. This is probably his last year in the NFL.
I got to be careful. I'm looking into the camera, too. I'm stone-faced.
He knew what he was walking into, and he chose to come back for one more year.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I want Joel to go out with as good a feeling as he can have with the Browns. But the Browns have to worry about the bigger picture here. With Miles got plenty of money for pain and suffering. Like Miles, I don't feel sorry for Miles anymore. He took the money. So enjoy the money because you're not going to win. And he knows that. So you can't feel sorry for him. So who else are we really talking about here?
I'm not telling you.
I don't see what playing a 40-year-old quarterback, what is the upside of that? You're going to win an extra game or two?
In the big scheme of things, no. But I think
that's
the
what
veterans,
the organization has to worry about.
But the veterans, then why sign the guy in the first place? Because the veterans in there are going to go,
agree.
Okay, you guys say it's not worth it, but it's my ass on the line every Sunday.
Yeah.
So I could go out there and I could play a nice long career still. I could have another 3-4 years, or this could be my last snap. And if I don't trust the guy going out there, I'm already going to feel even worse about it. And you know what? Damn it, your fans are going to feel like it's been more of the same. That's why I'm preaching about experience. It's like, guys, you think like the season goes like that. And so many times it does. It's 17 games in 18 weeks. It is a 6-week marathon to get ready for this season. I know you got to get ready for it. But this is why it's like, if you're trying to do anything at all, which is just win some games, prove that you know how to coach the football team, and prove that you can motivate some people as being the coach of the football team. You go with the guy who has the experience that they did go on a run with in 2023, that most of the guys that are still on that football team actually remember. That's where you start the year. You don't start off with Kenny Pickett or one of the rookies.
I feel compassion for the players because I remember in the locker room in Washington last year, I went to that game. I booked a late flight and thought, like, I'm going to go just in case, like, it all falls apart. And sure enough, that's where it all fell apart. Washington is where the season ended, as far as I'm concerned. And I remember walking out of that stadium thinking, the Browns season just ended before the Guardians season did. And talking to some people in the locker room who felt like, man, it's October. We've got like 12 games to go. Where do we go from here? Like, how do we get through this? And so I understand that, and I have empathy for that. But as an organization, you have to look at the greater good of how do we get better for the long term? How do we fix this organization? How do we pull us up out of this disaster that we are in following the Deshaun Watson thing. And I don't know how playing a 40-year-old quarterback solves any of that.
I respect that. I also remember now that I was watching that game and I started getting loaded and I was on the phone with Tone. And I remember Frankie Lavu kicking our ass. And I think he had a sack because I was on the phone with Tone and Tone was before me. He goes, guess what you're about to see? And all of a sudden I went, Frankie Lavu, how do you do?
That game was something, man.